it is normal to have different priorities that are in a very similar percentage, right? And you don't have to have one that is like just your top one. For some people it might be relationship and career, relationship and personal growth. It doesn't there's no right or wrong answer, right? And it doesn't have to be so clear. You can have two number ones, no problem whatsoever. It's how in the next exercise, like how much time you allocate to each priority, right? Obviously, knowing that you can't feed from an empty cup, your personal growth and self-development is very important. And to me, that is my number one, like in almost equal terms as my relationships. Like I totally understand where you're coming from, but my
Yeah,
relationship
and
can't be fostered if I'm not doing okay. If
yeah, and
my
sometimes we're struggling in relationship, but what we really need to do is work on ourselves. Sometimes
one
we're struggling in our career, but what we really need to do is work on ourselves. So some time ago, maybe 5-10 years ago now, we had this thing called Motivate Shanghai, which grew in a Motivate community. So people like our friends in Australia, like Lewis here and some people in Perth, they're like, what the hell is this China stuff? Well, we started in China. And when we started in China, we just started as a community. We wanted to do workshops. We wanted to talk on stage and practice our skills, but also meet other people that were interested. We wanted to talk about books like this, The Prophet. Hey, has anyone else read this book, The Prophet? It's really cool. How about this one? Don Miguel, The Four Agreements.
that I have.
Yeah, Don Miguel books, amazing. So we had a community and we would talk about some of these subjects or do workshops on them. And over the years, we had different people take charge and take the lead. And I left Shanghai, and then I got a call from someone going, "Hey, can we keep doing workshops?" I'm like, "Yeah." And next thing you know, it was Hannah and Raquel here were doing their workshops, and these guys did like about 100 workshops over 2 years, every week straight. I don't even think they skipped Christmas or anything. It was amazing. And in that year, the Motivate Shanghai grew, and we later changed into a community because during COVID, Raquel went back over to Portugal, Hannah went over to Ireland and Spain. I came back to Australia. Ben went over everyone had to go other places because of lockdown. So we changed to Motivate Community. But either way, if you want to make magic happen, it's great to pray. It's great to wish. It's great to meditate. It's great to visualize. But there's times when you need to execute. And it is so easy to screw up on the execution. Yeah. So one of the most important things we have to do is not execute, it's plan our execution. We need to make sure we plan what comes out. Yet who actually takes time to plan? So many of us, when we go overseas, we go on a holiday, we pack our bags 1 or 2 days beforehand. That's not planning. That's not planning. That's we're going, get the stuff in the bag, right? Planning makes such a massive difference. We've all got 24 hours in a day. It's all the way we manage our time and the way we look at and perceive time. So if you haven't done it already, actually consider getting coaching on time. Get coached on the way we perceive time or the way we move through time. But as you know, coaching can cost hundreds or thousands of dollars. But tonight, you get this magic and you get the magician Raquel for free. So, buckle up, hold your seatbelts. Questions, Raquel, do you like questions as we go or questions in the chat window? How would you like questions today?
We could do questions as we go, but there's also a time at the end for Q&A. So if you have any question that you're not quite sure where to ask, like just leave it to the end. I'm gonna make sure that nobody leaves here with a question unanswered, right?
Okay, wonderful. So we'll try to finish on time, and that's going to be 75 minutes from now. We'll try to wrap up. We will wrap up in 75 minutes. We'll wrap up. We'll give you a brief little shout out about what's going to come up at our next workshop. And then Raquel will lead us all, ask questions or use the chat window. And Raquel had been doing Reiki and life coaching from before I ever met her. She was already doing the Reiki and life coaching. The NLP's just given her a little bit of a boost, but this is all her own magic. So I look forward to being a student tonight and to figure out how I can improve my results with my time management. Thank you, Raquel. Thank you very much for coming today.
All right. Thank you so much. So like Adrian was saying, I'm going to be talking a little bit about a topic that is very dear and near to my heart, which is time management. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to successfully plan our time, how to successfully use time management to our advantage. But before we do that, we're going to have to do a little bit of like understanding of what is time management, what are the main time wasters that people tend to have and to deal with, how to plan an ideal week, and I'm going to finish off with like 10 tips for better time management, right? So like Adrian said, buckle up. We're going to do a lot. We have 75 minutes, so let's go. A little bit about me and how I started this time management, life coach, Reiki concoction cocktail that is my life right now. So since I was very, very little, I was very curious about like everything that we could do and trying to compare things that I could do with things I wanted to do and things I wish I could do. And I very quickly understood that like if I organize my time well, and if I prioritize my tasks, if I decide how I'm allocating my time, then those things are a little bit more possible and I can do it in a much, much easier way, right? One of my favorite quotes from Steve Jobs is, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." So basically, what this means to me is that with time management and with you in control of how you spend your time, with you being intentional about the tasks that you put on your calendar or on your to-do list or whatever like time management tool that you use, um, it becomes your time. It becomes your life. Those are the decisions that really do matter, right? Where time goes, energy flows, right? So like if you focus on a task, if you focus on a goal, and then you're allocating time to work on that goal, the chances are that that goal is going to be achieved, that goal is going to happen much, much faster and in a way that it's a lot more intentional. So overall, what is time management? To you, what is time management?
Yeah, time management is managing our 24 hours of time. Managing our 24 hours to get the most done.
Okay, so it is managing the 24 hours that you have and what you need to get done. I like that. Anyone else has another idea?
Well, to me, I think time management is make a plan and stick to your plan.
Make a plan and stick to your plan. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Getting things done. Well done. Well done. That's exactly it, right? Like, if you look at it in a very simplistic way, time management is exactly that, is to get an X amount of hours that you have available and have X tasks that you have to do and allocate them and make that match. Now, if that's so, why does it seem that a lot of people that are very, very successful, they have time to do things that we don't? If, like Adrian said, like everybody gets the same 24 hours, right? You think about any president, they get 24 hours. You think about any major pop artist, they get 24 hours in a day, and yet they seem to have time to do more things that we don't. How is that possible? I'm going to go back to the chat because I see, using the time we have. Prioritizing. Prioritizing is a very important tool. Absolutely is. But it's also because, I'm sorry?
God bless you.
Oh, thank you. So it is because these people that we consider like successful, or the ones that we look up to, like, oh my God, they seem to have time to do everything. They do it all. They are very, very aware of what their time wasters are. And they don't waste time with time wasters, right? Because those are the tasks that we feel like we have to do, or those are the tasks that we do feel like take a lot of our time, but they don't give us enough. They don't give us enough for the time that we spend on it. The return is not good enough, right? What do you think is the number one time waster nowadays? Phone.
Oh, sorry, did you say something? I was too busy scrolling through my phone.
Absolutely, yeah. Unexpected phone calls, TV, social media, phone. Everyone is going in this direction. All right, cool.
Mhm.
So obviously, time wasters are behaviors, obligations, and other phenomena that waste time, right? It might be anything from social media distractions or busy work. Everyone is vulnerable to these wasters, right? Like, it's not because you're Beyonce that you're not getting distracted by social media. It's not because you're the president of a massive corporation that you don't get an unexpected phone call that wastes your time that you had allocated for something else, right? Like, everybody gets it. It's how we deal with them. Biggest time wasters. Number one is waiting for inspiration. Is when you're just waiting for something good to come, instead of like acting on the idea that you have. And just start small, but start. Nobody is fully ready when they start, right? Like, it's just taking the leap, taking the courage, because waiting for the inspiration, waiting for the big moment, waiting for the aha is wasting of time, right? If you have an idea, and even if it's small, just work on it. Just start doing what you can. Baby steps, small steps, whatever you want to call it. But that's not wasting your time. Waiting for the big moment to happen, that is wasting your time. Worrying about what other people think is number two, right? So if you think about it, we do tend to change our behavior according to what the expectation is, right? According to what other people may think about what we move, and that's wasting our time. That's wasting your potential, let alone your time. But it's also wasting your time as well. Oh wait, I see the group chat has. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Comparing yourself to others. And you guys spoke about social media, and this is a big part of social media, right? Because when we're scrolling on our phones and we're looking at everybody else's great life that they portray on social media, and like all the trips and and you tend to be like, why am I not like that? Like, why can't they do that and I can't? Like, why haven't I done that? I want to do that as well. So like, that's wasting time as well. Trying to please everyone, right? Like, when anybody asks you for something, you always available. You say yes to everything that other people want you to do. All right. So number 5 would be repeating the same mistakes, right? Like, when we are so sure that this is what we need to do, that we keep doing it until it's right. I think it was Einstein said that being stupid is to have the same action and expect a different reaction, something like that. So basically, when you keep doing what you're doing and it's not working and you still keep doing it, that's something that is wasting your time, right? And energy, obviously. All right, fearing failure. When you're too scared that it's not going to work, you're too scared that you're not going to be good enough, you're too scared that like other people might not understand your idea or your goals. Trying to be perfect goes along with the one that we were talking about like previously, which is when you wait for inspiration, when you wait for things to be at a level before you act, that's wasting time, right? You're not going to be perfect the first time. Like, I do remember that, like, when I first met Adrian, he was doing I was at his workshop. He was doing a workshop and I was there as an attendee. And then at the end of the workshop, I went and talked to him and I was like, I want to help this community. I understand what this is, what you're building here, and like, I want to be part of this, right? If I was too scared that I wasn't ready, and God, I wasn't ready at that time. Like, that was not enough training, that was not enough like know-how, but I was like, I just know that I want to be part of it. So I went ahead and I spoke to him. If I had waited until I was ready, Adrian would be in Australia already, and none of this would have happened, right? Like, so taking the steps even before you feel like it's perfect, even before you feel like you're going to be good at it, because nobody is good at something that they are starting. And then unbalanced priorities. We're going to talk a bit about priorities in a minute, but basically, when you prioritize things that are not giving you enough feedback, you're not getting enough return of your priorities. Complaining constantly, like, why am I doing this and why can't I get where I want to go? And instead of living your plan A, you live your plan B because it's more comfortable, because it's safer, because it's what other people expect you to do. And you have plan A in your head that should have been your only plan to begin with. But you're living plan B because, like, you're pleasing other people, you're not playing big enough, you're not living to your full potential, and you're not diving in your plan A. That's your goal and aspiration, but you're keeping it safe, right? And I do understand that there are moments in life that we do have to play a little safe, but it shouldn't be something that takes too long. All right, so I said we were going to talk a little bit about priorities, and that's what we're going to talk about now. There are different kind of like priorities, and I do know that different people have different priorities that might not be here, but like overall they fit into these categories, which is career. I'm so sorry. Career, client work, business development, company accounts, all that, right? Relationships, friends, your significant other, um, family, like all that, right? Like try to navigate those relationships, and those are also work, and they do take time to foster, and like to have a good relationship you need to invest some time. um, Personal growth and learning, these are all the extra courses and lessons, and um, any sort of like self development that you do, like reading, meditation, learning a new language, whatever that is, that's also requires some time. Health and well-being, again, your meals, your gym appointments, workouts, like anything like that. And then the miscellaneous, which is like being spontaneous, like all your hobbies, and that will vary um, from person to person, right? Like whatever can't fit in the career, relationship, personal growth, and health and wellness um, category goes into the miscellaneous. So I would like you to take like a minute or two to like think about your priorities. All right, so I want everybody to think a little bit about your priorities and in your personal life. And this is going to look different for everybody. Like, what is the order of your priorities, right? Like, and you don't have to share. I'm not going to ask anybody to share because this is very personal. But like within these categories, if you have, think about your priorities, because the next part of the workshop is going to be a lot more dynamic. I feel like I've spoken too much, so now I'm going to get you to actually do a little bit of work on your priorities and your time management and your ideal week. So think about it. When you're ready, when you have your priorities like kind of ordered, give me a thumbs up so I can look in the screen and see that you're done, if you don't mind.
So part of me says relationships is most important. Another part says my personal growth and learning is more important. Part of me says this, part of me says that. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, it is normal to have different priorities that are in a very similar percentage, right? And you don't have to have one that is like just your top one. For some people it might be relationship and career, relationship and personal growth. It doesn't there's no right or wrong answer, right? And it doesn't have to be so clear. You can have two number ones, no problem whatsoever. It's how in the next exercise, like how much time you allocate to each priority, right? Obviously, knowing that you can't feed from an empty cup, your personal growth and self-development is very important. And to me, that is my number one, like in almost equal terms as my relationships. Like I totally understand where you're coming from, but my
Yeah,
relationship can't be fostered if I'm not doing okay. If
and
my
sometimes we're struggling in relationship, but what we really need to do is work on ourselves. Sometimes
one
we're struggling in our career, but what we really need to do is work on ourselves. Sometimes
absolutely
we're really struggling with our health, but what we really got to do is work on our own mindset towards health. So that seems to come out. That seems to come out as like a number one priority for me. Like it should be up here.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. Have enough spoon. Good. Um, very, very good. All right, so let's move to the next part of this exercise, which is mapping out your ideal week. I'm hoping that everybody can see that. No? Yes, Jenny?
Miss, looking at the screen, looking at what you have presented.
I'm sorry?
Looking at this, looking at it from a cultural perspective, happiness is not important to many people in various cultures. So prioritizing your own happiness, your own health is not number one.
It's not
Yes,
number one.
yes, because if you look at some of my friends here, they're like, what is she talking about?
Mm.
Happiness? Don't know what she's referring to because of the
Because
culture. It's not
exactly,
important to them. Looking
exactly.
at people's well-being is not that important. Making money, yes, or building wealth, yes, or finding a husband, yes, but happiness is not number one. So, from a cultural perspective and career relationships, maybe you can go on a little bit about that in terms of time management based on our culture and where we're coming from, socialization and kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like different cultures, and you are built to believe that certain things are very important as opposed to others. Like, and your priorities do change apparent, like according to what you've been taught to prioritize, what you've seen that your parents and grandparents and people that you look up to, what they prioritize, right? And you try to mimic because that's what you know, right? So it is important that in this discovery of what you want and not what other people expect you to do, right? Like, what are your priorities, not the priorities that you think you should have, right? That those are very different, um, because like I too came from a very traditional country, very Catholic country, that like serving others and having a good okay job and not standing up, not creating too much, like blending in, is what people expect you to do. And when you decide, okay, no, I'm going to leave this safe job and I'm going to move to Shanghai just because I feel like it, right? Like I'm going to go and do this other thing. Like people will look at you and they say like, you crazy. That's not what you do. You have a good job. You have your family here. You have this. Like, why do you want more? What are you looking for that you don't have here? Like, so understanding that what other people around you expect or want you to do has very little to do with you. It's their expectation, so it's their job to deal with it, not yours. But I do understand what you're saying, and it is a dynamic that it's hard to juggle, because you typically you want to please people that you like, right? Like, and people that you feel like took care of you, like you want them to be happy. You don't want to create this like conflict or whatever. And it doesn't have to be conflict. It may just be like a really tough conversation and like really soft set of boundaries. You say like, look, I do understand that this is what you believe is best for me. However, I believe different and I think this is the best for me, so let me try. I know you come from a place of trying to protect me. I know you come from a place of like what you know, because that's how the world was when you were growing up. But let me try something different. These kinds of conversations are very, very important to have. But I do understand where you're coming from. So let's go and try to map our ideal week. I'm hoping that everybody can see the slide that I'm sharing with mapping your ideal week and 3 different expressions there. Yeah?
I
It
just
has
stopped your screen sharing. Can you hit screen share again?
Okay. Oh, why is it not showing? Okay. Hopefully you can see now. Yeah, good. Awesome. All right. So mapping your ideal week. Start with the big rocks. What do I mean with this? Bernadette was saying, like, we love the big rocks.
Can I?
What is a big rock, Bernadette?
For me, it's a joker.
I'm sorry?
It's a joker. This is an exclusive I'm sharing to this, beloved community. A joker for me is available slots that I book first of all in my calendar, especially at the time where I know I am in top stage. That is, I sort of quite know my biorhythm first. That's number one. And two, I have joke. I worked for multinational before. And the top performers, when you are like middle management, you're just working for them and they don't work for or with you, is you have a packed calendar because we need to be billing our time to the client. We need to make money for the organization, right? So our calendars used to be updated and anybody in the organization had access to it. I had a burnout 10 years ago and a few medical scare. And what I did was I would block my time. I would not have back-to-back meetings. I'll have joker. And the jokers are for those emergencies. And for me, that has changed my whole world.
Okay, there you go.
For me, that's the, how to say, big rocks is I put joker time. And so this is where I would have time for myself to, what do I want to do to change the world, for example? And all this goes in a book, like in a parking spot. And then I go back to my day-to-day stuff.
Hey, there you go. You found a way. You found a way. And you mentioned something really important. Follow your body clock. You mentioned your body rhythm, right? And this is very important. Eating the big start with the big rocks. That means start with a task that will take most energy. Like the big thing, what will move the needle a little bit further, right? Like that's what you should start with. And then obviously eat the frog is a very similar idea, which is the one task that you really do not look forward to do, the one task that you're like, okay, this is really tedious, like I really don't want to do this, but I have to in order to get there. You understand that this is a very important task. It's not a time waster. It fits with your priorities. You have to do it. Like even when you're working in your dream, you're not going to enjoy every single task that you're doing, right? There will be tasks that are daunting to you. There will be tasks that you're like, this really isn't something that I want to do, but like it's part of the job, right? And like Bernadette was saying, and I 100% agree. You have to follow your body clock. Understand when you are the most productive. Understand when you are feeling tired. Understand when you're feeling motivated, when you're feeling unmotivated, and plan your tasks accordingly. Right? Like if you know that your productive hours are from 3 to 5 and you're scheduling meetings from 9 to 10 a.m., what are you doing? You're wasting your time. Because your productive hours should be the hours where you're actually getting stuff done. Stuff that only you can do, that you can't delegate. Like it's very popular, the Eisenhower matrix, where you have like urgent and important, important but not urgent, not urgent but important, and not important not urgent. Like that is very popular, and it's a good tool to use. I've used it a couple times, and whatever it's urgent and important, those are the big rocks, right? Those are the ones that you got to do right away. And like Bernadette was saying, like she uses the joker time in her schedule, and that's one way to do it. Not everybody likes to have like a calendar, a schedule. A lot of people function with to-do lists, so that should be your number one, number two item on your to-do list for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I can just back you up, Raquel. Eating the frog. If you eat the frog being the hardest task, the scariest task, the scariest task of the day, or the task you want to release, you start the day, you eat the frog. The frog's the first job. You do that, everything changes. Everything changes. Everything changes.
The frog.
Yeah. So you do these three things and everything changes. You cannot possibly be going on the same route. As soon as you do these, everything changes.
100%. 100%. And once you do that, and you connect that with understanding your rhythm and when you feel more productive, that's like a whole different level. And you will feel like your day is going to have more hours because you've already done the hard thing, and you know that your productive hours, you're going to zone in and get as much done within that time frame. You're not going to feel guilty about like sitting in front of a computer and not feeling productive, right? Because you already know, okay, my productive hours are from X to Z, be that like 3 to 5, 7 to 6, 7 to 9, whatever that is for you. Like I do not buy into like the you have to wake up super early to hustle, because a lot of people work that way, and if it works for you, great. But a lot of people also, like, they don't, and their productive hours are different. This is very personal and very, very different. So whenever I see like some time management coaches talking about like wake up early, win the day, it always raises a little bit of a doubt to me, because I do understand where they come from, right? Like, because they don't want you to, like, get too comfortable, and I do understand that. But it's so personal that it will depend on client to client, on person to person. As soon as you find out what your productive hours are, and I do that like in one-to-one coaching, when I get a new time management coachee, right? Like what happens is the first thing that I do is to get their priorities, right? We do like in the first session, I do understand what is important to the client, right? Like what do they prioritize? Where do they feel like they are wasting time? They're time wasters. And then we're going to try to understand what the body clock is. And then we're going to build a schedule where it's like, okay, so here you should be doing email work. Here you should be scheduling your meetings, or here you should be, just so we can work with the body, the body clock, the productive hours that they have. This is just an example, okay? Like this is because it's different for everyone. It's different for everyone. I see a lot of people trying to look at the screen and trying to understand what the calendar says, but like it's more like I do believe that this is very, very personal because of what we just said. Like, yeah, you eat the frog, but the frog is going to be different for everyone. Yeah, you have to work with your body clock, but like some people, the productive hours are very early in the morning, some are in the middle of the afternoon, right? So yeah, it is very important that people do understand